Here is a review on 2023. Here's a quick note: a green year means a good month, a yellow year means an okay month, and a red year means a bad month. Okay. January started off with a low note because of the crap that happened the previous year. Also, I had an unhealthy obsession with Wednesday Addams, which I would talk about her non-stop and make Photoshop and TikTok edits of her. Since I had blocked Steph and her mates on Xbox Live after my community guideline strike expired on New Year's Eve, I had heard nothing from her or anyone else who gave me the community guideline strike in December the previous year. However, because of said community guideline strike, most of my Minecraft worlds were removed for quote-unquote violating Microsoft terms of service, which is bullshit because none of which were inappropriate. As a result, only 18 worlds out of 200 remain saved to my account. Also, the hard drive I got for Christmas was disappointing because it only worked on Windows. February was undoubtedly the worst month of the year. My sister went through a phase where she thought she was transgender and became a boy for about 8 months before being a girl again. The sole purpose for this was to nitpick the shit out of me to the point where I would fucking rage. Eventually it got to the point where my mum ended up having to call the police, and they cautioned me for violence because I kicked off so much. The night the police came, I was held in custody waiting for what was going to happen. I was interviewed by the police and had lots of police checks to make sure I wasn't a criminal, in which I would never. I was in custody for about 8 hours before the police would let me go back to my house. I will never forget that moment, and this would have never happened if my sister hadn't had criticized and bullied me so much to the point where I'd flip. March makes up for it, because I found my old Furby Connect toys and a Texta Toucan in which I would use on a daily basis. At the end of March, my stepmom got the Galaxy S22 and my mum got the Galaxy S23 Ultra, in which the very first day of April, I would replace my TCL phone with my stepmom's old Galaxy S8 Plus, in which was still fully functioning and still had a great battery in comparison. The only problem with the Galaxy S8 Plus is that WhatsApp would draw over other apps when someone calls me on there, whereas my TCL showed WhatsApp at the top as a banner, and it's ironic to think that most of my contacts would often spam me via WhatsApp months later. Say if I was watching a YouTube video, my TCL would keep YouTube open when someone calls me on there and just display WhatsApp as a banner, whereas on the Galaxy S8 Plus, YouTube would be minimized and I'd be on the WhatsApp call screen. Other than that, the Galaxy S8 Plus is a lot better than my TCL in so many ways. Easter was a bit underwhelming and so was May, not because nothing interesting really happened, but it was just a bit boring in general. My school was pressuring me into doing more work than usual because it was the summer term, and the school usually gives more work out to students during the summer and there's no explanation as to why. The good part about May was when we had a buffet party to celebrate the King's coronation, just how the previous year when we had a buffet party for the Queen's Jubilee before her passing. Anyway, the buffet party was all that interested me at school that month. My birthday was underwhelming as well, since I got a PS3 controller because I needed one, as well as new cases for my phone and tablet, but the rest of the presents were all just clothes. What made up for it was when I had a burger meal that I really enjoyed. June was a very stressful part of the year. We ended up swapping houses with some other people that were, let's just say, very disorganized and were child abusers. As a result, when we moved out of our previous house, our current house was in such an awful state that we had to spend almost a month at my stepmom's flat, which was very hard because my stepmom was 8 months pregnant with my baby sister, which made her easily irritable to anything, as well as my mum who was so stressed she had multiple breakdowns. Plus, 4 cats who were so silly they would always run around and play, even meowing at stupid o'clock, a puppy who would howl and bark whenever she heard anything outside of the flat, and even my trans sibling who was being such a pain to the point where I'd flip. The flat was so small it could only suit 1 person, and there were 4 people including myself, plus 4 cats and a puppy, and it was so much stress it was also affecting school. I even had to sleep on the couch. July would make up for it since the house was practically finished. We had taken everything from the flat and everything was organized. However, because everything was dumped here, there and everywhere during the move from our old house, my TV screen was cracked, and as a result we had to order a replacement in which it would come and we'd set up. But the school was forcing me to do tons upon tons of work since it was the last month of the 2022 to 2023 school year. After all the stress of house moving, it was the end of the school year, and quite a few students would make their farewell. Steph was one of the students that made a farewell, which I was glad about since she wouldn't be giving me crap anymore, but her sister Naomi would end up trying to dominate me by forcing me to edit my TikTok account, in which as such, I would quickly be fed up of it and I would end up blocking her on TikTok and Snapchat as well as Steph. August started off on a high note, and on the 4th I'd be going to John's house until the 9th, because on the 6th, I had visited London for the first time in my life, and it was an amazing experience. I experienced the Underground, the tour buses, and we even stopped by at a few landmarks such as Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, and Nelson's Column. We stayed at the King's Cross Royal Scot Hotel, which was very nice indeed. While me and John were in London, my stepmom finally gave birth to my baby sister, and boy was she adorable. Me and John ended up going back to All Sager on the 8th, and I'd be going back to my mum's house on the 9th. Me and my family went on day activities with our baby sister, such as going to the farm or visiting my grandmother. However, because it was the summer holidays, I would constantly get calls on WhatsApp from my contacts on a daily basis, and sometimes they would start calling me over and over and over and over again whenever I didn't answer. September was it, the month when I started my final year in high school. It seemed a lot better than last year because there was no Steph, I made some more friends, and at the end of the month, my older sister decided to transform back into a girl. I was so happy, because I hated the trans phase with her, and everyone preferred her to be a girl in the first place. October was underwhelming, because nothing too interesting happened that month. And I can't really be bothered with Halloween either, because it's just a bit boring. All I really did was play on my Xbox while also being spammed on WhatsApp. November was a good month though. We had a firework display in our backyard, although my baby sister started crying because some of the fireworks were so loud they fizzed our ears. Also, we had built a trampoline for my older sister, which was so small I couldn't go on it, but I didn't care anyway because I was happy enough playing Minecraft. Although, the radio would play Christmas music in the middle of November instead of the beginning of December. Speaking of the radio playing Christmas songs in the middle of November, December was pretty good. And because it was almost Christmas, the house would be decorated with Christmas decorations all over the house. Not to mention, I was at the All Sager Cricket Club again, participating in the Christmas quiz for 2023. Like the year before, our team won. Because our team won, we got to host another quiz in January. Once again, we were jumping with joy because we won the quiz 2 times for 2 years. And unlike the year before when I got back home from John's house, I did not come home to a community guidelines strike, so I was able to use my Xbox One during Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, the presents I got were, a Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and a storage device that actually worked with my Xbox instead of only working with Windows. Not to mention, this is the first Christmas where my baby sister participated in opening presents and eating Christmas dinner. Overall, despite all the bad bits, 2023 was a pretty good year for lots of reasons. 2022 sucked. End of review.